Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, August 30, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Taking a look at the US National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:28 p.m. Jamaica time, we can see that we still have that code yellow off the coast of Africa that has a low chance of development within the next 7 days, and we can definitely see the clouds, showers and thunderstorms right here off the west coast of Africa associated with it. All of this should push out into the open waters of the Atlantic within the next 24 to 48 hours. Regarding the latest information here from the Hurricane Center about this this entity, they've stated yes, a tropical wave. A tropical wave is forecast to emerge off the west coast of Africa on Sunday. Thereafter, environmental conditions could support some slow development of this system while it moves westward to west-northwestward at around 15 miles per hour across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic next week. And we see that they've given the area a 0% chance of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours and a 30% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. And regarding what it's going to be looking like at the end of the next 7 days, so this is by around 12Z on Saturday, September 6th, so at the end of the 168 hours. This is where the entity should be located. We see an isobar, we see some showers on the northern side of the low pressure area. Very interesting. That's where it's going to be. So I guess it's going to be making a trek more so towards the west northwest. Let us see where the GFS has it. Let's see if we have agreement. All right, so we're looking at the same time frame, 7 a.m. that's 12Z, 7 a.m. on Saturday, September 6th, and we can clearly see that the GFS has it moving a bit slower than the Euro. The Euro definitely more west than where the GFS has it. Very interesting, but the thing is, both models are in agreement that something should be coming off of Africa and possibly developing. Clearly, the Euro is weaker than the GFS with the system 1012 millibars. The GFS 1009 millibars, maybe looking at, if not a tropical depression, a tropical storm right here. Very interesting forecast indeed, but clearly it's a bit too north for it to possibly even make it into the Caribbean, even although we've had times when ridges of high pressure squash these areas down and make them, stay more southward, more low latitude going into the Caribbean. It doesn't look like it's going to be making it into the Caribbean at all. Definitely staying more north. Maybe a similar pattern to Erin. We'll see if that actually plays out. As of right now, this is where it should be at the end of the next 7 days. And we know that if something should form, the next name on the list after Fernando is Gabrielle. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that there's actually a tropical wave right here across the eastern Caribbean, another tropical wave right here across the main development region. And I guess the tropical wave is definitely coming off of Africa as we speak. We're going to be seeing that being highlighted on tomorrow's surface map for sure. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, let us see if we can make out the entities that we just mentioned. So there's some kind of tropical wave somewhere in here, not really seeing the moisture associated with it. Maybe right here near the ABC Islands pushing from east to west, but that's basically it. Regarding the other tropical wave, we can definitely see the moisture associated with that, especially near the intertropical convergence zone. And we can clearly see that these entities are being steered from east-west, all courtesy of the ridges of high pressure to the north. We will be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, August 30, 2025. It was stated that we would have had some rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes on Saturday afternoon. And we know central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 1:25 p.m, the visible satellite image was posted not only here on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica, but it was also posted on our Instagram page at Weather.Jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you cannot afford to miss. So we can see the visible satellite imagery that was posted at around 1:25 p.m. highlighting the clouds, bringing some overcast skies, if not some thunderstorms. We see the sparkling yellow dust that we know represents some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. Definitely across sections of Kingston, St. Andrews, sections of St. Catherine, sections of Trelawney, southern St. James, sections of southeastern Hanover, northeastern Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, the cockpit country in general. That was where the thunderstorms were at that time. But as the afternoon progressed, it definitely spread to other areas. The infrared was posted at around 2:45 p.m, highlighting the images showing all of the thunderstorms that were taking place across sections of Kingston, St. Andrews, St. Catherine, spilling into sections of Clarendon, Manchester, sections of Trelawney, St. James, sections of Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, as well as even sections of central to southern Hanover for sure. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost sunlight, we can make out the cloud cover definitely across sections of some central and western parishes. Even though we know St. Andrews and eastern parish, we definitely had some brief isolated thundershower activity during the late afternoon hours, and we can clearly see the cloud toss being sheared off towards the south. As a matter of fact, even had some thunderstorms bubbling up across sections of the south before we were beginning to lose the sunlight right in here across sections of southwestern St. Catherine, sections of southern Clarendon, maybe southeastern St. Elizabeth, getting in on some isolated, well, late or early evening amount of isolated rainfall right in here for sure before we lost the sunlight. And we can see it all even better on the infrared, all of the thunderstorms that took place today, all of the high cold cloud toss being sheared off towards the southwest, all of these blues, green, yellows, oranges and reds that we know represents the cumulonimbus cloud cover, not to mention the sparkling white dots that we know represent the lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And just like what we just saw, we even had that buildup of isolated thundershower across sections of St. Andrews, sections of southwestern St. Catherine, Clarendon right in here during the late afternoon into early evening hours for sure. So confirm if you actually had gotten in on some late afternoon isolated thundershowers in those spots. But even the Jamaican Doppler radar imagery is confirming the rainfall. If it's going to be loading, is it going to load? Looks like it's glitching out. Yeah, definitely glitching out. But today we can clearly see where we had some rainfall. This was 1754 Z. I believe that was 154. No, 1254. So that was in the early afternoon hours. At that time we saw the rainfall building across sections of southwestern Trelawney, southern St. James, far northern St. Elizabeth, far eastern or northeastern Westmoreland, southeastern Hanover. We saw the thunderstorms building up, and we also saw the rainfall across sections of St. Andrew into St. Catherine right there. So I guess it glitched out at that time, unfortunately. And we definitely have confirmation right here. See Jamaica's YouTube channel showing the heavy rainfall and the strong winds that were taking place around the Flatbridge area. Look at the strong winds. Some heavy rain, sheets of rainfall taking place. This was at around 1:20 p.m. As you can see here, people still in their vehicles going about their business despite the bad weather. Boy, you know, you have to remain cautious when you're in the Bogwalk Gorge. If you remember that news that came out of a rock falling out of the hill and smashing into a truck and killing the driver when he, you know, ran off the road into the river. My goodness. Well, look at the sheets of rain on the road. That's just crazy. Some decent rainfall took place around there today, almost freak storm like for sure. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map does indeed paint quite the picture for we might have had that rainfall today across sections of some central and western parishes for sure. So sections of St. Catherine, St. Andrew, sections of Clarendon into Manchester, St. Elizabeth, sections of Westmoreland, southern sections of Hanover into southern St. James, southern Trelawney as well. And we definitely have some comments right here from some of our followers about what the weather was like in their area today. We had Vanessa Nicholson stating it's crazy hot in Negril right now. That was posted 2 hours ago. We have on our Instagram page KK Sweets 2 stating light rain in Portmore. Euthicarus stating finally rain in Spanish Town. We have Nakey Poo stating finally rain in Kingston. Just need it to fill the dams. Also have a Blessed Divine 444 stating right now today has got to be the hottest day in our history. Me walk and the sun and burn me foot like a joke. We also have Carla You love stating thank God for the rain, my farm is happy. Essence underscore is underscore me stating Portmore miss out. Well, we just had somebody who said they got light rain in their part of Portmore. Have Sharon R. Campbell stating getting some rain now on the earth's outskirts of Spanish Town. Even on our YouTube page we had Big Truck stating heavy wind and rain in St. Catherine, Jamaica. Katie and Martin stating to how the place did hot today. I'm glad for the little rain we get in St. Catherine Central Village. We also have Active 4081 stating we need the rain. Whether Jamaica, did you get rain, Marlon? Let me know. We have Antonique Leachman stating it's cloudy but with a little thunder. And Vibes underscore Queen 6967 stating raining in Manchester. Thank you all for confirming what the weather is like in your area for today. Alright, so we're going to reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, the latest Jamaican Doppler radar image, the latest Cuban Doppler radar image, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar image, and the latest Cayman radar. We're going to be seeing what's happening right now. So the latest still image from the Weather Nerds website showing the satellite imagery, the close-up of Jamaica, is showing 0045 UTC, which is actually 7:45 p.m. So this just came out 9 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:54 p.m. right now. As you can see, we still have some leftover isolated thundershowers affecting sections of Clarendon as we speak. We see the clouds, we see the sparkling white dots. Do we have the agreement on the Doppler radar? So the Doppler radar seems to have glitched out. So let's see what's happening on the Cuban Doppler radar. There we go. Cuban Doppler radar is actually updated. They finally fixed it. It was glitching out showing August 18 and August 26. Now it's showing August 30. We can actually see the latest time frame right here. I just reloaded it, but it's still slightly glitched out. It is showing 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7:10 p.m. Jamaica time. But we can definitely make out that rainfall right in here across sections of southern Jamaica. We're talking about sections of southwestern St. Catherine into Clarendon right in here, and even picked up that rainfall across southeastern St. Elizabeth, as you can see here, represented by the greens into the yellows that we know represents what we see here on the key on the right. Greens represents moderate, that's moderate rainfall. Yellows, that's weighted, that's stronger, heavy rainfall for sure. That indeed confirms what we're seeing now on the inferred that cloud cover across sections of Clarendon. The Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar not picking up much of anything across northeastern Jamaica, but we do see some rain bands right here across sections of southeastern Cuba, especially to the northeast and to the west of Guantanamo. As a matter of fact, Guantanamo looks like they're going to be receiving some decent rainfall. Look at the moderate heavy rainfall pushing in and coming closer to the radar station. We can also see that rainfall across sections of the western peninsula of Haiti. Regarding the Cayman radar, we can actually make out some amount of rainfall in the blues and the greens, some light to moderate rainfall across sections of Cuba right in here, and to the northwest of the Cayman Islands we also see some rainfall out to sea as well. We even see some rainfall right here exiting the western portions of Jamaica earlier today. And if we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're at 28 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperature should dip down to about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston. By the way, not really much taking place right now on the halfway tree cam. We can definitely see nothing taking place in terms of bad weather. Definitely fair conditions as we speak for the most part. Nothing in the way of bad weather should be taking place. This should be the order of the evening. I figured that they got some rainfall in the late afternoon here in the halfway tree. Got how wet it is. Yep, just to show that we did indeed getting on some rainfall in halfway tree right in here. What time was that? And see the hills of St. Andrew not even really showing. We can definitely see the big raindrops. This was 4:45 p.m. So they definitely got some rainfall, just like what the infrared showed. We definitely saw after the big convection. We saw just a brief isolated thundershower across section of St. Andrew right there. So that indeed confirms that time frame. Alright. Regarding the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we see Jamaica right here shaded in some of the oranges that represents up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperature. I know the normal temperature for the month of August across Jamaica is around 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica. That's around 32.8 degrees Celsius, so we should be receiving anywhere from 32.8 degrees Celsius to maybe 34.8 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. And we're grateful that we don't see any maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online Twitter page. I have to highlight. I know that we usually have to highlight these because when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, or any areas at all, let them know that no power outage is coming on Sunday. Well, with the occasional crazy folks on the road, you know, sometimes you have some crazy people who hit down the light posts, and then you have some random outages that last for hours. So that could be an exception, especially with all the madness of the politics going on. Lots of crazy drivers out there these days. Either way, we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here: seek shade when outside. Eat fresh. Try eating cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest. Make sure you get enough sleep, and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak. Take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry ear map, we can see the dry ear right here on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we see a lot of dry air right here to the northwest of Africa, extending across the main development region into portions of the waters to the south of Jamaica. A lot of dry air there. You know, the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain. We don't want the dry air. We want more of the moisture that we see across the southwestern Atlantic, the Gulf, in and around Central America, the intertropical convergence zone of the main development region. And that's what we want. We want more moisture so that we get more rainfall, so that we get more water in our pipes. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days, so we're heading into August 31, September 1, and September 2. And as you can see, we're just expecting some slight Saharan dust. We see it crawling through the southern Caribbean. But by the end of the next 3 days, so by September 2, some slight Saharan dust in the green should be pushing up into the Jamaica area. As of the next 2 days, so August 31 into September 1, we should be in the clear for the most part. And you can see that we don't really have much in the way of Saharan dust to the east of the Caribbean. Most of the Saharan dust is right here off the coast of Africa. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're still seeing more so in the way of blues across the Caribbean that represents what we see here on the key on the bottom right. 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because of the winds that are expected. The greens into the slight yellows. We're talking about 10 to 15, maybe even up to 20 to 25 knot winds, especially right here, coastal areas of Colombia and northwestern Venezuela. The strongest winds are expected. But regarding Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, up to 0.7 of a meter wave height to the north of Portland, 0.8 of a meter wave height to the south of St. Thomas, 0.6 of a meter wave height to the north of St. Anne, 0.5 of a meter wave height to the north of Hanover. To the south of Westmoreland, we have 0.6 of a meter wave height. To the south of Clarendon, 0.8 of a meter wave height expected tomorrow. And that's because of the winds that are expected. To the north of Portland, 9 knot winds. To the north of St. Anne, 11 knot winds. To the south of Clarendon, 12 knot winds. And we also see where the air is going to be piling up. Wherever we have the least amount of wind, that's where we're going to be having those low-level clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds, when you have that daytime heating. And the upper-level winds still seem to be coming in from the northeast, if not the east-northeast. So we could get something similar to what happened today. When we had those thunderstorms building across sections of some central and western parishes, you notice how the cloud tops were being sheared off towards the southwest. It could be a case where it's more so from the east-northeast to west-southwest kind of fashion, definitely favoring more of those overcast skies to sections of some southern parishes for sure. And regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And by around 3 p.m. it should already be raining across sections of some central and western parishes, and maybe even sections of Kingston and St. Andrew in the east. So definitely expect some rainfall across sections of Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James, St. Elizabeth, Trelawney, Manchester, sections of Clarendon, St. Anne, Northern, St. Catherine, maybe sections of St. Andrew into Kingston, maybe southwestern Portland getting on some of the action as well. Interesting. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast, so look out for that afternoon rainfall. Get that laundry done early. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. We can see both maps right here showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday. And we see the greens into the yellows into the oranges that represent anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 0.66 of an inch of rainfall near the Kingston and St. Andrew area on the Euro. GFS going up to at least 0.61 of an inch of rainfall across the central to the western end of the island. It could be more than that, it could be less than that. We have to take these forecasts with a grain of salt, but the takeaway is that there's definitely going to be rainfall, especially across sections of some central and western parishes within the next 24 hours. And whatever happens, we'll definitely take it because we're in the month of August. And in August, we usually receive close to 100 millimeters of rainfall, as you can see in Kingston here. In Montego Bay, we usually receive close to 5 inches of rainfall for the month of August. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of August or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall. So you can do the math yourself. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours. That stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. First of all, we see a broad area of low pressure right in here of the east coast of the US. Very interesting. Would that be something tropical in nature? Well, not necessarily, especially since it's within the 2-day time frame and the hurricane center didn't put anything out. And we can also see some moisture to the south of Mexico. Remember, the Eastern Pacific definitely active these days, so that could be the next name on the list trying to get its act together. But clearly at 7 a.m. on Monday, we don't really see much of anything across Jamaica at that time on the Euro. Monday afternoon, though, we see some rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Monday morning, not really much of anything. Monday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes, just like what the Euro was showing. What do we see on Tuesday morning? Not really much of anything on the Euro. Tuesday afternoon, look at that, rainfall across the eastern end and the western end. What does the GFS show? Tuesday morning, not really much of anything. Tuesday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some eastern, northern, and western parishes. What do we see for Wednesday morning on the Euro? On the Euro, we see some rainfall across the far eastern end of Jamaica. Wednesday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show for Wednesday morning? Wednesday morning, some rainfall across the far eastern end. Wednesday afternoon, rainfall across especially some central and western parishes in Jamaica. Interesting. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning, we actually see some rainfall across the far eastern end of the island. Thursday afternoon, look at that, rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning for the GFS? Maybe some rainfall across some southern parishes. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. Interesting. Friday morning, what do we see? Not really much of anything across Jamaica. Friday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. Then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Saturday, September 6th. Don't really see much of anything across Jamaica. We do see some moisture right here across the East Central Caribbean, though. Very interesting. We'll see if it actually plays out. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, nothing really for Jamaica. Friday afternoon, rainfall especially across central and western parishes. And just like the Euro, we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Saturday, September 6th. We see some moisture across the eastern end of Jamaica. We also see some moisture across the eastern to the central Caribbean, but not necessarily the Caribbean waters, like what the Euro was showing. Very interesting though. It looks like it's starting to really moisten up in our neck of the woods. That's what we want. We want more rainfall for sure. Regarding the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days across the Caribbean, we can clearly see that the brunt of the rainfall over the next 7 days is where it usually is, across section of northern South America into Central America. That's where we have the dark reds into the purples and the pinks that represent anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rainfall. We also see some portions of the Bahamas into Florida and Cuba still shaded in the same colors. So some isolated flash flooding could be in the forecast, while other areas that are shaded in the usual greens, yellows, oranges, and reds, like areas from the Yucatan into the Greater Antilles into the Lesser Antilles, those areas should be getting in on an inch of rainfall or less, as represented by the reds into the oranges, yellows, and the greens. So that's exactly what is expected over the next 7 days from now up until Saturday, September 6th. But regarding Jamaica's rainfall total for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are also showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until September 6th. And we see the blues into the greens into the yellows, oranges, well, into the yellows, not oranges, extending from the eastern end to the western end of the island. We see it all across the island for sure. But you know, usually what's happening across the eastern end is usually during the morning, while the central and western parishes is usually during the afternoon. So it could get up to at least maybe 30 or more millimeters of rainfall. The GFS, on the other hand, a bit more robust with the rainfall totals, heading up into the 50s and the 60s here in the oranges. Interesting, especially across central western parishes. Very interesting forecast. It looks like we're getting into more wetter times for sure, and we'll definitely take it. That's what we want more rainfall to cool these temperatures down and keep water in our pipes. And whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with whatever occurs. Taking a look at what's happening across the rest of the basin, you can see not really much taking place across the Caribbean. We do see the usual thunderstorm activity across northern South America into Central America. We also see a lot of moisture in and around the Bahamas into Florida, the southern United States over there. But regarding what's happening on the Doppler radar imagery, down here near Puerto Rico, we're actually seeing some rainfall across southwestern Puerto Rico as we speak. So to Guadeloupe into Dominica. And if we load these images from earlier today, we saw where section of central into western Puerto Rico definitely got lashed with some moderate heavy rainfall. The Barbados rainfall, Barbados radar not really showing much in the way of rainfall. We do see some rain bands right here just to the east of Trinidad and Tobago pushing westward. We also see some isolated rain bands right in here, just to the east of Barbados, pushing into section of Martinique right in here, so too Dominica. And if we take a look at the weather, we have uploaded our images. You can see some rainfall to the west and to the south of Florida, some rainfall across the Yucatan, to the east of the Yucatan as well, section of Cuba, some rainfall across northwestern Venezuela into Colombia. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday, and we can clearly see the greens into the yellows into the oranges and reds that represent up to an inch or less of rainfall for sections of Florida into the Bahamas, Cuba, section of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of Puerto Rico, US and British Virgin Islands, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, sections of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, the Yucatan getting on some of the action as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS modes are in agreement with this forecast. But if we take a look at what's happening across the Eastern Pacific right now, we can definitely see that we still have those two code reds that are trying to become the next named items. We see one right here just to the south of Mexico that should be pushing out towards the northwest over the next 7 days and become something. 80% chance with that and 90% chance with this one as it pushes off towards the west. And we can see the infrared right here. We see the cloud showers and thunderstorms associated with this one closer to Mexico, and the other one right here that should be pushing off towards the west. Very interesting. They're trying to acquire the next names on the list, Kiko and Lorena. Let's see if that actually takes place. But regarding what's happening on the Western Pacific side of things, we're still watching the tropical depression that briefly upgraded within the past 24 hours to a tropical storm. It became tropical storm Nangfa, and it pushed into Vietnam quickly. And we also have a brand new code yellow right here just to the east of the Philippines. If we take a look at the infrared, we can see don't really have much in the way of clouds across the Vietnam area. All of the clouds associated with the tropical depression that became the tropical storm pushed quickly inland, and we can definitely see the cloud showers and thunderstorms to the east of the Philippines associated with that code yellow that could become the next name item. Regarding the tropical depression, we can see that the winds have definitely tapered down. See, it briefly became a tropical storm with this tropical storm symbol just before landfall. Now it is back to being a 25 knot tropical depression. As it pushes towards the west over land, it should continue downgrading in intensity. 20 knots, 15 knots, as you can see here. Should be dead by September 1. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.